Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Young. I'm just going to walk you through a quick presentation on the skilled trades issues in Canada. So, what are skilled trades? Well, skilled trades basically, if you focus on the main areas that focus to drive the economy, they're like plumbers, electricians, they're aerospace engineers, they're in manufacturing, they're people like tool and die makers, industrial millwrights. Anybody that deals with robotics, these are the type of people that drive a lot of the automation or drive the skilled trades to operate key equipment. And this is something that's not discussed in the scope of things in terms of supporting things, in terms of what really are skilled trades and what really involves with them. Typically with a lot of skilled trades, there's an apprenticeship process that you have to go through. That being said, how that actually is driven is the federal government itself provides that bucket of money that goes from a Canadian social transfer down to the provinces. It's the provinces that run the skilled trades. So when you look at your community colleges or you look at the university systems or any sort of educational system, more so the community colleges, you're going to see skilled trades programs there. That's what's being geared up to do it. So the provinces themselves set out how people should be certified in the skilled trades, whether it's tool and die maker, whether it's a plumber or an electrician. That has nothing to do with the federal government, so anything that's mandatory in terms of skill gaps starts at the provincial level. Now the federal government can provide additional support, and that's what Stephen Harper is doing through grants and loan programs to help more people, to encourage them. But if the educational system in Ontario or across the country isn't gearing people to go to those skilled trades, then that's a problem. And that's not something that's been discussed either by Thomas Mulcair or Justin Trudeau. They do talk about high-level issues with skilled trades, but they do not talk about specific solutions. The next slide I wanted to show you is the average salaries. Now, I only looked at 2 or 3 months here, and basically my focus was on the service producing area, which is forestry, mining, utilities, construction, manufacturing, because those are the areas that drive exports. And it's exports that drive that income coming back to the government in terms of corporation tax and personal tax, because exports account for about 20% or 20 to 25% of our GDP, and they're very critical in terms of moving the economy forward. Now, that's why I've got the right-hand side here. Now, if I'm a business and I'm looking at my requirements for jobs, then they're going to be driven by my capacity. So if I'm expanding in the export trade or the domestic market, then I'm going to be looking for people, skills to help my business expand. That's why I've got export and trade. Consumer spending, that drives a lot of the domestic market. Housing starts, the more people invest in housing, residential ownership, and we've got pretty good rates of ownership now. That also drives construction, that drives your carpenters, that drives your drywallers, that drives those people that are paid a decent income to basically help build the construction industry. Foreign direct investment, that's the flow of capital coming into the country. That helps us expand resources, manufacturing, oil extraction, all that area. That's what that drives. Advanced manufacturing, more and more companies are going to robotics, laser welding, other options to kind of put more automation in their processes, and that drives skills required there. Great updates and improvements. You're talking people that have to be trained in terms of installing green energy, maintaining it, as well as looking at the line persons that work on your hydro lines. Those are all part of areas in supporting power generation. Now, why did I pick on those areas? Those areas are particularly pay a decent income. That's what you're seeing here. On average, the low end of those jobs are about $27 an hour to the high end about $50 an hour. So you're hearing all this rhetoric. There's not a lot of jobs out there. You're hearing all that rhetoric. Well, a lot of the jobs are available, but we don't have people going to those areas that are in terms of importance. And that's the issue that we're basically being told. People have been told to go get a university education because it'll pay for itself. Now, we need to have the right mix between those kind of priorities. It's getting to a stage now where people are not told to go to the right priorities in terms of where job opportunities are. The second point that's going to drive salaries is governments. Now, healthcare, education, or provincial matters. So if they're cutting back their funding, either by poor management of their fiscal situation, what ends up happening is they cut jobs back. Despite what this thing is saying here in healthcare spending, educational spending, one of the growth areas is supposed to be nurses, but I don't know how I can buy that between 2015 and 2020 growth rates, because healthcare system, especially in Ontario, has been scaled back. the situation in Ontario has become pretty drastic because the federal government has given the provinces about 6% in healthcare, but they're only funding 2% to hospitals. So hospitals are cutting jobs. So I'm not sure how nursing jobs are going to be in demand if there's pressure on cost control. And that's what you're getting with the government. I guess they probably feel that if Mulcair gets elected, he'll throw more money at healthcare. But if the provinces don't execute more efficient, effective uses of dollars are spent to put more frontline services there, it won't add any future jobs. So that's why even though there are job opportunities that are discussed in the 2015 to 2020 plans from Career Builder, it doesn't align necessarily unless you look at the overall scope of the finances. And that's really what I wanted to try to show you with this graph, is just show you that realistically, if people went more to the skilled trades and there's a gap above $1 million that potentially could be there, then guess what? We'd have more people making a good, decent income that would be geared to industries that are growing or not temporary, or what Mulcair calls Harper's not done enough. But in essence, he has done. But he can't control provincial policies. Thank you.